Sir, just to let you know, Shoneman said that his internet's down and he'll be back right when it's up.
All right. I suppose he won't be back before then. All right. Well, thanks. I sort of trust you guys are taking care of your situations as best you can. If you can, let me know ahead of time if you're going to miss class. That's great. But um, in general, I'll assume you're doing the best you can, and we'll go from there. But thanks for the heads up. And it sounds like from my last correspondence with our department, you all are headed back to the yard. And generally, we're all going to make it. I see more and more of you popping in your Bancroft backgrounds every day. I don't know if those are just like to get you in the mood. There may be a fake background, but
All this should be back by the 27th.
okay, all right then, cool. So then we'll be able to get everyone their kits and start putting some hardware as well after the 6 weeks. So that'll be good. All right. Any other course logistics issues, concerns? Okay. All right then. Why don't we go ahead then and just start seeing where we get to? Let's close all these tabs. All this stuff. Well, that's some other kinds of code. But we don't do that. All right, so we're actually making a video game in my senior elective as well with making Battleship, but I just like making video games, I guess. Okay, so let's just make sure we're all on the same page here. Last time somebody mentioned that their internet connection was shaky and they couldn't see the text. If you're having trouble following along here, do let me know, and I'm happy to paste things in the chat or just email you, some of the code directly. And that way you can keep along. But, I think, like I said, it's easy to be a passive kind of receiver of this information and think that it all makes sense. And then 10 minutes later, when you try to do it yourself, you realize, oh, wait, I don't quite get it. So please work along with me here. And if we were in a, normal classroom, I'd walk around and stuff like that. But, Justin, is that a fake background or is that you? I can't tell anymore.
It's just my really clean room, sir.
You guys, I like it. All right, good. I just see these things snapping around. Okay, so if we play this again, remember, I think it's easiest if we dock this figure. So that way you don't have to keep finding wherever it got off to. And so when we left off our last class, we were able to recycle one of the rocks by moving it to the top of the screen and letting it fall down again. And we made it look a bit more realistic by changing its color and shifting its position a little bit. Right? So I think we have some good elements here. But then when I look back at the source code at like line 15 here, this while one, I'm intimidated by it. Right, it's not clear to me exactly if I wanted to add more, features to this. Like, I can't quite remember what I did. So, part of writing code is refactoring. It's not just that you got it to work, I'm done. It's that I got it to work. Can I write it in a cleaner way so that it's easier to maintain or it's easier to add new features? Remember, I think back in the first week or something, we talked about red-green refactor. Like, get it to work, get it from red to green. But once it's green, your job's not done. Clean it up and see if you can express your code in a cleaner way so that you can use it and extend it more easily. Okay? So the first chunk of this class, we won't be adding any new features, we'll be cleaning up what we have. All right. The first...
I have a question.
Oh, yeah. Go ahead.
Real quick, sir.
Yeah.
I clicked, right-clicked on one of the file names in the editor, like the ones say like the game or the convert RGB. I right clicked on it and I clicked what is it called? I basically told it to pull away from the main Dang it, I'm having a hard time getting it back onto the same screen.
You undocked it?
I undocked, yeah, that's the word.
So if you undocked it, then you can dock it back. You should see a right hook right below the X on the window that's floating. You should see a little hook to dock it.
Okay.
All right.
I'll find it.
Well, do you want to share your screen? I mean, I hate for you to be lost before it starts.
I will.
Because I'm sure for every person that admits to, an issue, there's 3 other people that have it that have just been quietly, hoping we'll address it. So this is really helping everybody out. Okay, yeah, so you pulled you just have 2... Okay, yeah. So you can do a couple things. You can just hit X on this.
Okay.
Just close that thing out. And then at the top there, you go back to your MATLAB here. Mm-hmm. And click in there. And then you go to, where's your views? Layout, right up at the top there. By Simulink, there you go, layout, default. Yeah. And then, wait, you've got, is there another MATLAB thing open? Go, what else is up there?
I have another one.
Okay, yeah, hit quit debugging there. Yeah, and X. There we go. And then go to layout default. Okay, and then say edit. And where are you? The EW. Okay, double click on EW200 game, so that's your path. Yeah, there you go. And say edit game.m.
Okay, it popped open in another one.
Oh, it wants to keep it out. Okay, then go to the right and click the down arrow, or see on the far right right below the X.
Right below one of these.
Yeah.
This one.
Mm-hmm. Doc game.m.
Doc. Awesome. Okay, thank you.
Now grab that blue title bar and drag it so that it's in the top portion. Drag it up higher. There you go. Let it go. Now you're back in the... Okay?
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, docking is a clever feature, but it's hard to get used to. Good. All right. So, yeah, you can go ahead and close out your screen share, so that way everyone gets to...
I was looking for the button, sorry.
Oh, yeah, sure.
Thank you.
Good. Any other questions?
Yes, sir. I had a question on how to get Rand to only give me a random variable from like 0 to a number rather than from 0 to 1.
Mm-hmm.
So what I'm pretty much trying to do is I have my my ship face color. It's going to start at white, so just 255 for RG and B, but then I want it to subtract a random like a random amount, so that it looks like rather than it's just completely changing colors, it looks like it's just like fading into a new color. If that makes any sense.
Yeah.
So I just don't know how to get Rand to give me anything beside from 0 to 1.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you the answer to your particular question. Then I'll also say actually doing a smooth color gradient is a bit complex. And that's one of the reasons why we don't use RGB color space to describe like video color. We'll use like HSV, like hue, saturation, and value. So if you subtract off hue, you will get a smooth color pattern. If you just subtract off red, you'll start to things will get weird. But anyway, the way to get let me stop, pause, quit. So Rand by itself is going to give you a value between 0 and 1. If we want to scale that to say a value between 0 and 255, I guess, we can just multiply this value by 255. It's just a percentage, right? You see? If I wanted to, and that would give me a value between 0 and 255. If you say, well, I have a slightly more complex, I like to get a value between 10 and 20, right? Well, then the range of randomness we want is still is 10 wide. So I'm going to multiply Rand by 10. I'm going to scale up, to 10. So now I get this kind of stick 10 wide. If I want to shift it along the number line, I'll just add or subtract a constant. So Rand times 10 plus 10 would give me a value between 10 and 20. Okay.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much.
Yep. All right. Anything else? These are good questions. Okay. Good. All right. Yeah, I will. There were some questions that came over email about the homework, but let's just focus on this before I get too distracted by a bunch of different questions, or different topics. So let's go back to here, and let's look at line 17. What is the intent of line 17? If you're, this is clearly some programming, jujitsu here. What is our goal? If you were to describe line 17 in English to somebody, a friend who doesn't program, what are you doing in line 17?
Moving rock 1 down, so you're changing its Y value, so it moves vertically down.
We're moving it down by 0.2, right? We're applying some offset, right? We're moving it by, wouldn't it be nice if I could, instead of writing line 17 like we have, I could say move right? If we write a function that can move rock 1 and Y a little bit, I mean, this is still a bit program-y, but I think it reads a little clearer than line 18. Okay? And I have my reasons for naming things this way and doing things this way. So there are other functions you can imagine writing, but play my game here and we'll see how it all comes out. So this is going to be another very small function. Really, the goal of this function is not to encapsulate a big complicated idea. It's just to clean up the code so that it reads better. Okay, so let's try that out. Let's go ahead and again, in your current folder view, you're going to right click and you're going to, let me show you what that right click looks like. You're going to right click and you're going to say new function. We did this before with convert RGB. And we're going to call it move Y by. Okay. Now I've already written what I would like move Y by to look like here. I kind of wrote it before I defined it. Looking at how I wrote line 17, how many inputs do you think move Y by will require?
2.
2. And how many outputs will it produce?
1.
Questions. Ben, are you inside of Minecraft? My son would be thrilled. None. No outputs.
Oh.
Yeah, I'm not assigning it. If I was assigning the value to something else, like, Zim equals move Y by, then I would have, an output here. I don't know what Zim would be, but a function doesn't have to produce an output. That's fine. It's actually changing its inputs. It's going to change rock 1.
Sure, where did you right click on it to create the function?
Oh, just in the white space in this current folder dialog. All right, and then once you've named it, you can go in and see that MATLAB's already put together the outline of this function. We just need to clean it up, right? So we already said it takes in 2 inputs. We could keep them named arg1 and arg2, but that's so confusing, right? What are we really passing in to move Y by? What's the first thing? If your job was to move Y by, the first thing you got, what would be what would be the word you'd give that thing?
You want to know where Y is, so the Y data.
Isn't it the object name?
Yeah. Why don't we just call it object? Yeah, we can just call it the thing, right? And then the offset. like the change to apply, right? And there's no outputs, so we'll just delete that little chunk there. And the whole goal is to move object by offset. Do you see that? The name of these parameters doesn't match, you know, rock1 and negative 0.2. Those are the values I'm passing to this function. But in the function, this function is going to be moving a lot of stuff for us. It's not just for rock1. It's for anything we want to move. And in general, the most abstract name we can think of for something we want to move might be object. You could call it thing or item, whatever, right? So in here, it would be an error to say rock1.ydata. There's nothing called rock1 in here. Rock1 doesn't exist as far as this function is concerned. The thing that exists is object. Okay, so we're going to say object dot y data. And what are we going to do to that y data? Is equal, set it equal to what? Let's look back at what we did here. This is the line of code. So Zach White, what do you think we're going to write for this line here, line 3?
It would just be like objects.y data minus however much you want to displace it by.
Yeah, no, I guess this is, you know, our convention. Should we say that it's always, that offset's always down? Or should I would recommend keeping it as a plus, and then when you want to move stuff down, you pass a negative offset. And when you want to move stuff up, you give it a positive offset. You know, you could think about it differently, but we are going to want to move the ship around, for example, in an up direction, and other things. So let's just go with this convention here, but either one could work. Okay, so this is exactly the same line of code written a little differently. So let's make sure that it still works. Whenever we're refactoring our code, we want to do a little change and then just play and make sure we haven't broken anything. Does it still look okay? It seems like our move y by worked.
Sorry, but could you real quick go back to move y by the, what's it called, function?
Mm-hmm.
So when we, at the end of the year, go to create our actual game, what we want to do is create all these functions and make it easier for us to like distinguish what they do.
Yeah. And some of our functions are going to be doing a lot for us, right? These functions are just prettier ways of calling the same line of code. But we'll find some of these functions actually have a lot inside of them. But we're starting small. We're going to get bigger. So now go ahead and refactor your code more by replacing all of the lines where you moved y by an amount with our new function. Okay? So see if you can, on your own, make a move x by. Because on line 23, we're moving x. See if you can create a function, right? By right-clicking in that current folder space, create function, set the parameters. It should look exactly like move y by. It just everywhere there's a y, you're going to put an x. Okay. Are we successful? Right, so it's just an X here and an X data. Now, one of the most common problems I see is the forgetting these capital letters here. It's capital X, capital D data. If you put a lowercase d here, you'll see an error and you're like, well, it is X data, and to an English speaker, you know, fine, we don't think about capitals that much. But MATLAB is case sensitive. So make sure your capitalization is consistent. All right? We can't have spaces in our variable names. Space would indicate there's two variables then. So there's, by convention, there's two ways to have a multi-word variable. And the one way is by putting an underscore. And the other way is by using something called camel case, by having the first letter of each word capitalized. And MATLAB's convention is typically camel cased, right? I will try to be consistent. I realize convert RGB we wrote as a, they call it snake case, but with underscores here. You'll find that I'll name my functions by camel case, but I typically keep all of my variables with underscores. But just be consistent, or at least, you know, if you see those errors pop up, check the capitalization of your variables before you go crazy. All right. So there we go, move y by, and I've got move x by here. Okay, so it's getting better, but now I realize that only rock 1 has a special behavior where it's going to a new location each time. It'd be nice if rock 2 also had the same, you know, idea of falling off the playing surface and then coming back. So what we can do, of course, is just make another line like this, Control C, Control V, is rock 2 off the screen, and then we can say rock 2, rock 2, rock 2. If you find yourself doing this, this is a sign of perhaps a code smell. Something could be improved here, but let's just play it and make sure. it works. You see? Right, of course, rock 1 moves faster all the time than rock 2, so it's just going to continue to step ahead. But imagine we had like 10 rocks. Yeah? This is going to get tedious. And pretty soon our code's going to be hard to maintain again. Okay? So if you know how many rocks you have, let's say I have 10 rocks, and I want to go through each of the rocks and check whether it's off the screen, and if so, put on the top. Have we learned some kind of code structure that will allow us to do something multiple times?
A loop.
A loop, and what in particular? What kind of loop?
A for loop, if it's defined.
A for loop, yeah, it's a fixed number of rocks. I know what they are. Okay. So try this out. We'll do it, we'll refactor it, right? We'll try to get the exact same behavior, but with a better code structure. Let's forget this. This is really my core logic here. So now my comment can be, are any rocks off the screen? So for, and remember the idea of the for loop, and now we'll see this is actually quite elegant. The for loop takes a list, right, an array, and goes through it assigning this variable to each item in the array in turn. So we use a for loop like for I equals 1 to 10, and then I was 1, then it was 2, then it was 3, then it was 4, right? We've seen this? We can say for rock equals and replace rock 1 now with rock, which will be rock 1 the first time it runs through. Let's keep everything consistent here. You see how I replaced rock 1 with this thing rock? Oh, like this? And so now our code can scale to a rather large number of enemies, right, of rocks. What do we think? All right. Another thing we can improve, though, we can do even better. Anytime you have variables who are identical except for a suffix who's, a number, like I have a rock 1 and a rock 2, and maybe I'll have a rock 3 and a rock 4 and a rock 5, think to yourself, wait a minute, I shouldn't have individual rocks, I should have a list, I should have a vector of rocks, right? And then I can address them individually if I care to by saying rocks parentheses 1, rocks parentheses 2. So let's get away from having these discrete variable names, rock 1 and rock 2. Let's go up to the top here. Okay. And rocks equals rock 1, rock 2. Like this. You see I'm going to have this variable called rocks, and later on we'll talk about this a little bit more. But let's not optimize it too much yet. This is rocks. And now I can say for rock equals rocks. And in many programming languages that support these kinds of loops, they also allow you to write the word in here instead of equals, which I really prefer. But for rock equals rocks, you should read that as go through all of the items in the rocks array and do something with each one. What do I want to do with it? I want to check, are you off the screen? If so, I want to move you up to the top and let you fall back down. Does this for loop make sense? Give me like a thumbs up if we're on track, or like a medium if things are like getting a little dicey, and or down if Yeah? Okay, good. All right. I hope I'm not boring you. We can still go faster, but I don't want to go too fast. Why don't everyone send me a private message here? Tell me, because I don't want you to feel pressured either way, but let me know, like, we're going too slow generally, or we're about right, or we're going way too fast. You can just send it to me. I mean, I don't mind. If you send everyone, of course, that's up to you, but don't feel compelled to overshare if you don't want to. Okay. All right. Well, it seems to be doing good. Okay. Okay, not any faster. Okay, good. Great. Well, if at any point, things aren't great, please let me know. Chat or otherwise. All right, so now we need to do something a little bit tricky. Okay? We're going to have to think here for a minute. So I'm going to bring up the whiteboard. We're going to talk through some geometry. But what I want, rather than moving x by, now think about this. So far, we only have the ability to say, hey, Rock, I don't know where you are in space, but I'd like you to move about 1 unit down. Okay? That's great, and we need that feature, right? I also want the ability to say, Rock, I don't care where you are right now, get yourself over to coordinate 15. Right? Move x to 15. Right? Not move x by, but move x to 15. Okay? Now think for a minute on your own, and maybe try to do it, right? It's going to have the exact same format as move y by as far as these parameters. It's going to take 2 parameters here. But the result is that I want the center of that object to be located at the second parameter. Do we understand the question, the challenge here? So create another one called move y2. And the reason we want that is really line 23 shouldn't be a move y by. Right? We kind of just stuck it in there because we thought, oh, that's enough. We know it's at the bottom of the screen and I want to move to the top. But this really isn't quite what our intent. It doesn't express our intent directly. We want to say move to the top of the screen. Okay, and once we have this move to function, we'll find that's useful for a lot of stuff. So we spend a couple minutes here. I have to stop the recording and switch the screens around for a moment to get the whiteboard. So bear with me.